Hi, Women of Welcome. I'm Sarah Casada, and today I am super excited to be introducing you to two of our Women of Welcome ambassadors, Christy and Joanne. For those of you who are new to Women of Welcome, we are a Christian community of women pursuing compassion and Christ-like welcome toward immigrants and refugees. You are invited to join us on Facebook and Instagram at Women of Welcome. And for those of you looking for a safe place to ask sincere questions or dialogue with other women learning in this safe space, we have our private Facebook group, where many of you are watching live right now. But if you're watching this on Instagram, we invite you to join that group. It's called Women of Welcome, and we encourage you to find us there and go deeper with our community. I am so excited to introduce you to Christy and Joanne. Bree and I have been so grateful to have them join our team as ambassadors, and I wanted to offer them an opportunity to introduce themselves to you and to share a little bit about the work that they're doing. And so, Christy, we'll just start with you if you want to share a little bit about how you got connected to Women of Welcome, but also how you got connected to immigrant and refugee issues in general.
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. I started working with refugees in the Dallas and Fort Worth area about 10 years ago. And so my eyes were really open to how refugees and immigrants were assimilated into our country, and stayed in touch over the years with those organizations and watched some of the leaders of those organizations as they pursued justice and worked through a lot of different things that were hitting our immigration system. And a couple of years ago, when the news media started speaking out about child separations, as a new mother, my heart was definitely just broken for that situation. And so I started following and found Women of Welcome at that time. And I watched the documentary. I went to an event they had here in the Dallas area, and I kept asking, it was Tess at the time. I kept asking her, how can I help? What can I do? What can I do from home? Is there anything? I want to go to the border. And so I jumped on the first ship to the border, so to speak, and was able to go before the Women of Welcome trip started. And so I had committed to go with a North Texas group. And that's how I got involved, and I've been involved ever since. So
that's great. That's great. And Joanne?
Yes, thanks, Sarah. I actually am married to a Mexican national, and so we've been through the process of DACA as well as getting my husband's green card. So that just kind of really made me aware of what immigration, how it all works as far as those two areas. And then from there, of course, in 2018, when we had caravans that were approaching our border, I just couldn't imagine what on earth was happening that would cause so many people to come at one time. And so I found Welcome on Facebook. I think it was definitely a divine appointment because it was right up my alley. It was informative. I learned so much about other areas of immigration and things that were going on with the policies, what was changing and who it was affecting. And then Women of Welcome offered the trip to the border, which I was able to go. And that was really life-changing. It just kind of broke my heart, but in the best way. So.
Absolutely. And I don't want to neglect, we actually have a third team member who is part of Welcome. So I am going to show her picture here. This is Amy, and she is also one of our Women of Welcome ambassadors, but she just had a baby. And so she couldn't join us today, but we want to give a shout out to her as well. I'm gonna hide her. So thank you for joining us, Amy. But I would love, maybe Christy, if you can give us really an overview of, what the ambassadors are, what their role is here in our Women of Welcome community, and what you guys have been doing.
Yeah, so we were brought on to help deepen the community, the online community. So, what Welcome was hearing was that a lot of women across the country were feeling isolated or out of touch, or maybe kind of like a lone ranger in their area. And so they wanted to connect with us online, but they were also looking to connect in other ways. And so we were brought on in order to be a face behind the online presence and to be someone that could reach out and talk with people, help guide them through their journey. And what we found is that so many women are, one, surprised that there's a real person wanting to connect with them and have this conversation. And two, a lot of women are looking for reassurance in things that they're learning, or wanting to be pointed in a direction of understanding and just truly just being guided by the Spirit. So every woman that we talk to is on a different path, possibly. And so the Lord's opened their hearts to immigration and refugees and asylum seekers in these issues. And they've all taken steps, but maybe need that next encouragement to take the next step, or to know what that next step might be.
Absolutely.
And so we're just a guidepost to kind of help them along.
Oh, it's fantastic. And when we started this Women of Welcome community, I was doing a lot of these calls by myself. I think I spoke to both of you on the phone back, a while back. And it was you're exactly right. I think people are like, oh, there's real people behind the internet. And Women of Welcome, we're absolutely real people. And we're real women with real faith trying to figure out what it means to follow Jesus into this area of hospitality and welcome for immigrants and refugees. And I loved talking to Women of Welcome on the phone, because everybody has such a unique story. They had such unique challenges. And yet we also had so many of the same challenges and questions, because there was very much a sense of, I don't exactly know what's happening. I don't exactly know where to get good information. I might be the only person in my family, church, small group, neighborhood that's thinking about these issues or talking about them, at least. I don't know anybody else. And it has been such a gift to see how eager and open the women in this community are to being connected and going deeper. I know that we had a lot of new women join our community in the last 4 to 6 weeks. And I just want to say to you all, welcome. We are so glad you're here. And like Christy said, everybody's coming in on a different journey, kind of different knowledge. And so, Joanne, maybe you can speak to, is there a reason for a woman to talk to an ambassador, to talk to you or Christy or Amy, if this is brand new to them? Are you talking to women who this is a brand new issue to, and what does that look like?
Sure. So yes, we speak to women who are in every phase imaginable in their journey and learning, what's going on and what can we do. We have people who do definitely feel a little isolated in their churches, because maybe they've brought the topic up and other people weren't really comfortable talking about it. And so, the people that I've spoken to who are brand spanking new are just really grateful to have someone to answer questions. And, we all began in that place. So there's absolutely no shame in not knowing. I always tell people that if you don't have an immigrant in your life, like I'm married to an immigrant, so that's very different. Most people don't live in that world, and there's no reason for them to ever learn, about immigration or what's going on in depth. We just know what TV throws at us, basically. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, literally this last week, someone shared something with me about immigration. I said, oh, I didn't know that. And they thought I was joking. They started making fun of me. Like, what? No, I had no idea that. And it was just, there's, first of all, immigration is very complicated. And there's all these different, kind of spider webs of paths people are on that lead to different dead ends or different ways. And so there's so we're all learning new stuff all of the time. And so there's definitely this kind of grace in that of like,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I had no idea. I'm glad to know. What about you, Christy? What has it been like for you to talk to women? Have you been, finding that there are people who are very new to this conversation and wanting to join in?
Yes, I think it's, I always say it's so graceful the way the Lord changes hearts and minds because he does it when we're ready, and he does it in the sweetest way to each person. And so what I've been encouraged by is how he's sweetly drawing people together to have a heart for immigration and refugees. And he's doing it in such a fascinating way, whether it be a mission trip that someone's been on for the first time, or whether it be a trip to the library, or whether it be a neighbor or relocating to a new community where they're in a community of immigrants or refugees. The Lord just is so gracious to us. And so everyone has a different journey and they all start at a different place, where Joanne started, where I started, where Amy started, we're all different places, where you started, Sarah, are all different places, but he so sweetly brings us the right people, the right community. And so what I encourage women to say is there's no wrong or there's no stupid question. I know we've probably all heard that our whole lives, there's no such thing as a dumb question. There's no such thing as a bad way to ask. And what I've really found for myself is in the Women of Welcome group, I've just watched such community blossom and so much willingness to help, and helping on so many topics, not just the legal issues, but the church issues or the prayer issues or the biblical issues. And I've been so thankful for you and Bree leading that and bringing us such applicable truth and applicable action points. So speaking from personal experience, I was never involved in political, any type of speaking out to my senators or representatives. And since joining the Women of Welcome group, I've felt empowered and I've felt educated enough to take baby steps to make phone calls and to email representatives. And I never would have done that had it not been for Women of Welcome. So thank you.
Oh, that is so encouraging to hear. And I am right there with you. I kid you not, when I was in a job interview many years ago, and they were asking me questions about, I don't know what they were asking me questions about, but somehow it came to this conversation of politics, like, and caring for the poor and the political implications of that and immigration. And I remember just saying, oh, I don't get very involved in politics. Like I just care about people. I don't kind of play that game. And there's a lot of ways I still feel that way, but I also have recognized that politics impacts people, and there's a difference between being partisan and being political. And so it's been such a journey, I think, for all of us of figuring out what does it mean to love our neighbor. And sometimes that might mean calling a senator and saying, hey, I want you to know I'm concerned about this. That is something I would have never even thought about years prior. And so I want to encourage those of you that are watching this video. This is a really great opportunity for our community to connect and go deeper. We don't have I get emails all the time that are like, hey, Sarah, we see you're interested in this. We'd love to hop on a 20-minute call. And ultimately they're going to try to sell me something, right? Like Women of Welcome, we really don't have anything for sale. We don't have an agenda or some place we're trying to get you. We're really just trying to connect as women who are in this space, who are talking about this topic, who are trying to figure out what it means to live out Christ-like welcome in 2020 in our homes, our communities, our states, our nation, in the middle of COVID and all of these things. What does that look like? And so the last question I want to ask Christy and Joanne is, what does Christ-like welcome mean to you? What is Christ-like welcome?
I'm going to go first, Chris?
No, go ahead, Joanne.
Oh, okay. I think that I've actually been a Christian since I was 8 years old. And so I think that most Christian values that are taught in Sunday school are things that we tend to, we learn them, they become second nature, and they're just kind of something that we can spout out, but we don't always hang on to them or realize how applicable they are.
Mm.
Um, but I've known from a very young age that Jesus was always wanting to hang out with me. He always wanted to be around me, and that was really important to me because I was an only child and I spent a lot of lonely time. So knowing that he was always there with me, regardless of where I was or what I was doing, just really had an impact on me as a kid. And so I think about that and how that's become such a deep part of my life. And as I've grown, as a person and as a Christian, and just the areas of life that people maybe think are separate from him, but are not. Like there's no place he doesn't go. He's there in every corner of our existence.
Mm.
And so when I think about that, and I think about how inviting he always is, and how there's never a time that you're not invited to his table. I think, how can I not offer that to other people? It's such an amazing sense of belonging, and it isn't just for me. It's for all that he died for, and so when I think about not being able to accept someone or not being able to welcome them, I just think that that's like not in Jesus's language. It's not in his vocabulary. So, and I want to be like him. So
I love that.
I love that. Yeah. So for me, what I found is that in order for me to show a Christ-like welcome, I really have to dig deeper to trust Jesus, because it's not something that comes naturally to me. And so what I found, though, is, again, his grace is so amazing. For when we step out in faith, he meets us right there and he blesses us so well. And so the table that he sets for us is a much more beautiful table, filled with much more beautiful foods and drinks than we would ever imagine for ourselves as humans. And so I'm learning how to offer Christ-like welcome, because it doesn't come naturally from my sin nature. It comes by me relying on Jesus. And so I've always been open to learning. And I think that that's what's brought me this far, is just being open to learning. And so just listening to the Holy Spirit, even when it doesn't make sense. And then also asking the Holy Spirit. So for me, if I don't ask to be a part of what God wants to do, then I think I'm going to miss out on things. And I know that I've missed out on things, because if I don't ask him, what are you, a friend of mine, when I worked for an evangelical ministry, which my story doesn't, there was never a point where someone said that girl's going to go work for an evangelical ministry. But in doing so, I learned so much. But I had a friend that would wake up every morning and he said, "Good morning, God. How are you today? And what are you up to? And can I be a part of it?" And I just thought, that's just such a humble prayer. Versus, "Hey, God, today I need you to help me get to work on time. I need you to help me pay my bills. I need you to, do these things for me." And so I'm learning what Christ-like welcome looks like. But what I find is I have to get outside of myself in order to do that. And so to be available, to be friendly, to be open and not so focused on me, is when I've been able to show the best Christ-like welcome.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that some of the overlap of what the two of you are saying, of essentially this is Jesus's example and we want to be a part of it. And so what does that mean in our day-to-day lives? We're still maybe figuring that out sometimes, but we know that there is goodness there that we want to be a part of. And I love that. So those of you watching, we will include in the comments or on Instagram, it'll be in our bio link, how you can reach out and set up a time to chat with Christy or Joanne. But we wanted you to see their faces and know who they are. They're real people, not avatars. And you might receive an email from them at some point. And so we want you to know who they are so that you can jump on and we can get to know you better as part of our Women of Welcome community. So thank you, Christy and Joanne, and thank you all who are watching for joining us. Remember, you can connect with Women of Welcome on Facebook, including our private group, and Instagram at Women of Welcome. We are about creating life-changing welcome, and you are always invited.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sarah.